Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Hey. Krishna Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Hey. Krishna Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Raksha Mam. Krishna Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Pahi Mam. Rama Raghava, Rama Raghava, Rama Raghava, Raksha Mam. Krishna Keshava, Krishna Keshava, Krishna Keshava, Pahi Mam. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya, Krishna Preshtaya, Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin iti namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyatya Deshakarine. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivas Adigaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Haraye Nama Krishna Yadavaya Namaha. Gopala Govinda Rama Sri Madhusudana. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Om Apavitra Pavitrova Sarva Avastang Gatopi Va Ya Smari Pundarika Aksham Sa Bhashya Abhyantara Suchi. Shri Vishnu, Shri Vishnu, Shri Vishnu. Om Agyana Timarandasya Jnana Anjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitang Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangung Langhayate Girim Yat Kripa Tamahang Vande Sri Gurun Dinataran. Yat Kripa Tamahang Vande Parama Ananda Madhavam. Trinadapi Sunichena Tarar Iva Sahishnuna Amanina Manadena Kirtaniya Sadahari. Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama Eva Kevalam. Kalo Nastyeva, Nastyeva, Nastyeva Gatir Anyata. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So, this is scene number 8, entitled Swangsha and Vibhinangsha. The personified Vedas continue to offer their obeisances. Dear Lord Krishna, after many, many births, those who have actually become wise take to the worship of your lotus feet in complete knowledge. Prabhupada now comments. This is also confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, wherein Krishna tells Arjuna, Bahunang janmanam ante, jnanavan mang prapadyate, vasudeva sarvam iti, sa mahatma sudurlabha. That after many, many births, a great soul or Mahatma surrenders unto Lord Krishna, knowing well that Vasudeva Krishna is the cause of all causes. Now the prayers of the personified Vedas continues. As has already been explained, since our mind, intelligence, and senses have been given to us by God, when these instruments are actually purified, there is no alternative but to engage them all in the devotional service of Lord Krishna. A living entity's entrapment in different species of life is due to misapplication of one's mind, intelligence, and senses in material activities. Thus, various kinds of bodies are awarded as the result of the living entity's actions, and they are created by material nature according to the living entity's desire. Because a living entity desires and deserves, that's key. I have to repeat that because that's important. Because a living entity desires and deserves a particular kind of body, it is given to him or her by material nature under the order of the Supreme Lord. Prabhupada now comments. In the 3rd canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, when Kapila Dev is explaining Sankhya philosophy to his mother Devahuti, this verse is spoken by Lord Kapila. Karmana daiva netrena, jantur deho papataye, striya pravishta udaram, pungso reta kanashrayaha. It is under the control of superior authority that a living entity is put within the semina of a male and then injected into the womb of a particular female in order to develop a particular type of body. The living entity then utilizes his or her senses, intelligence, mind, etc. in a specific way of one's own choosing, and thus develops a particular type of body within which he or she becomes encaged. In this way, the living entity becomes situated in different species of life, either in a demigod, human, or animal body, according to the different situations and circumstances. It is explained in the Vedic literatures that the living entities entrapped in different species of life are part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. However, the Mayavadi philosophers mistake the living entity for the Paramatma, who is actually sitting with the living entity as a friend. Because the Paramatma, or localized aspect of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and the individual living entity are both within the body, a misunderstanding sometimes takes place that there is no difference between the two. But there is a definite difference between the individual soul and the supersoul. And it is explained in the Varaha Purana as follows. The Supreme Lord has two kinds of parts and parcels. The living entity is called Vibhina Angsha, and the Paramatma, or plenary full expansion of the Supreme Lord, is called Swa Angsha. The Swa Angsha, plenary full expansion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is as powerful as the Supreme Personality of Godhead Himself. There is not even the slightest difference between the potency of the Supreme Lord and that of His plenary full expansion as Paramatma. But the Vibhina Angsha, parts and parcels, possess only a minute portion of the potencies of Lord Krishna. The Narayana Pancharatra states that the living entities, who are the marginal potency of the Supreme Lord, are undoubtedly of the same quality of spiritual existence as Lord Krishna Himself, but they are prone to be tinged with material qualities. Because the living entity is prone to be subjected to the influence of material qualities, the minute living entity is called Jiva. In terms of the teachings of Lord Chaitanya, the living entity is known as the Tatastha Shakti, or marginal potency of Krishna. Sometimes the Supreme Personality of Godhead is also known as Shiva, the all-auspicious. So the difference between Shiva and Jiva is that the all-auspicious personality of Godhead is never affected by material qualities, whereas the minute portions of the Supreme Personality of Godhead are prone to be affected by the qualities of material nature. That is because Godhead is not tatastha. He is not marginal. He is always in the Purusha, or supreme position. The living entities are not in the same category as the Supreme Lord. The supersoul within the body of a particular living entity, although a plenary full portion of Lord Krishna, is thus worshipable by the individual living entity. Great sages have therefore concluded that the process of meditation is designed so that the individual living entity may concentrate one's attention on the lotus feet of the supersoul form of Vishnu. That is the real form of samadhi. The living entity cannot become liberated from material entanglement simply by one's own effort. No. One must therefore take to devotional service of the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord, or the Supersoul, within oneself. the original commentator on Srimad Bhagavatam, namely Sridhar Swami, has composed a nice verse in this regard. Here is the purport. Tvad angshasya mameshana, tvan maya krita bandhanam, tvad angri sevam adishya, parananda nivartaya. Sridhar Swami prays, My dear Lord Krishna, I am eternally your part and parcel, but I have been entrapped by the material potencies, which are also an emanation from you. And as the cause of all causes, you have entered my body as the Paramatma, or Super Soul, and I have the prerogative to enjoy the supreme blissful life of knowledge along with you. Therefore, my dear Lord Krishna, please order me to render you loving service so that I again can be brought to my original position of transcendental bliss. Now, Prabhupada gives us the conclusion of this section. Great personalities understand that a living entity entangled in this material world cannot become freed simply by one's own efforts. But with firm faith and devotion, great personalities engage themselves in rendering transcendental loving service to Lord Krishna. And that is the verdict of the personified Vedas. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So this is scene number 9, and it is entitled The Ocean of Transcendental Bliss. The personified Vedas continue to offer their prayers. Dear Lord Krishna, it is very difficult to achieve perfect knowledge of the Absolute Truth. Your Lordship is so kind to the fallen souls that you appear in different incarnations and execute different activities. You appear even as an historical personality of this material world, and your pastimes are very nicely described in the Vedic literatures. Such pastimes are as attractive as the ocean of transcendental bliss. People in general have a natural inclination to read narrations in which ordinary jivas are glorified. But when they become attracted by the Vedic literatures, which delineate your eternal pastimes, then they actually dip into the ocean of transcendental bliss. It is just as a fatigued man feels refreshed by dipping into a reservoir of water, so the conditioned soul, who is very much disgusted with material activities, becomes refreshed and forgets all the fatigue of material activities simply by dipping into the transcendental ocean of your pastimes. Eventually, one merges into the ocean of transcendental bliss. The most intelligent devotees, therefore, do not take to any means of self-realization except devotional service and constant engagement in the 9 different processes of devotional life, especially hearing and chanting. When hearing and chanting about your transcendental pastimes, your devotees do not care even for the transcendental bliss derived from liberation or from merging into the existence of the Supreme. Such devotees are not interested even in so-called liberation, and certainly they have no interest in material activities for elevation to the heavenly planets for sense gratification. Pure devotees seek only the association of Paramahamsas, or great liberated devotees, so that they can continually hear and chant about your glories. For this purpose, the pure devotees are prepared to sacrifice all comforts of life, even giving up material comforts of family life and so-called society, friendship, and love. So, I would like just to make a comment here that I know 2 such devotees who they were supposed to inherit millions of dollars, but because they became devotees, practically they were written out of the will. These 2 great devotees, whom I both know, one is Guru Prasad Swami, who those of you in Panama know or should know, Guru Prasad Swami. And the other is Giriraj Swami. So both of these personalities, they come from extremely wealthy families. And both were told, either you give up Krishna or you're out of the will. And both of them said no. We will stay with Prabhupada and Krishna. That is called sacrifice. Let us continue. Those who have tasted the nectar of devotion by relishing the transcendental vibration of chanting your glories, such as Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So, those who have tasted the nectar of devotion do not care for any other spiritual bliss or for material comforts which appear to the pure devotee to be less important than straw in the street. Namaste Narasimhaya Prahlad Aklada Dayane Hiranya Kashi Purvakshaha Shilatankan Nakalaye Ito Nrsinga Parato Nrsinga Yato Yami Tato Nrsinga Bahir Nrsinga Hridaye Nrsinga Nrsingham Ading Sharanang Prapadye Tavakara Kamala Varei Nakam Adbhuta Sringam Dalita Hiranya Kashipu Tanu Bringam Keshavadrita Narahadi Rupa Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare, Jai Jagadisha Hare, Keshavadrita Narahari Rupa, Jaya Jagadisha Hare, Jaya Jagadisha Hare, Jaya Jagadisha Hare, Jaya Jagadish, Jaya Jagadish, Jaya Jagadisha Hare, Jaya Jagadisha Hare, Jaya Jagadisha Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Om Tat Sat.